The drama surrounding Sophie Cunningham and Bria Hartley has turned into one of the most polarizing and emotionally charged storylines of this WNBA season. It began with a single collision on the hardwood, a play that at first looked like nothing, more than the unfortunate byproduct of a physical game. But what followed, the reaction captured on camera, the accusations that poured in online, and the stunning twist of fate that arrived days later, transformed a routine injury report into something larger than basketball. It became a story about perception, about reputation, about accountability, and for many fans, about justice. When Sophie Cunningham went down, it was immediate. The contact looked awkward, her leg twisted beneath her, and she reached for her knee before even hitting the ground. There was no attempt to bounce back, no chance to shake it off. Teammates rushed toward her, trainers sprinted from the sidelines, and the crowd, buzzing only moments before, fell into a stunned silence. Sophie's pain was obvious, her grimace unmistakable. She was helped off the court, unable to put weight on her leg, and the fear in the arena was palpable. Everyone knew this was serious. But in the middle of that moment, as Sophie clutched her knee, cameras caught something else. Bria Hartley, the player she had collided with, turned her head toward the crowd and smirked. It wasn't a full laugh, not an open display of mockery, but it was a grin, a flicker of amusement at the exact second her opponent lay writhing on the floor. That image, frozen in time, traveled faster than the injury report itself. Within minutes, it was circulating online, plastered across social media with captions of outrage and condemnation. Fans didn't just see a smile, they saw intent, and that was the problem. Injuries happen in basketball. They're part of the game, as unavoidable as missed shots or bad calls. But what fans couldn't accept was the perception that Hartley had found enjoyment in the misfortune of another. The image confirmed what many already believed, because this wasn't the first time Bria Hartley had been accused of crossing the line. It was simply the clearest context matters, and Hartley carried baggage into that moment. Earlier in the season, she had already been at the center of controversy. There was the rebound battle with Angel Reese, where she appeared to grab a fistful of hair, leaving fans stunned that no whistle had been blown. There was the shove against Rebecca Allen that many felt was completely unnecessary. Isolated, maybe those clips would have been forgotten in the churn of a long season. But stacked together, they painted a picture of a player with a reckless edge, someone who seemed to constantly be involved when tempers flared. So when Sophie Cunningham went down, the smirk became Exhibit A in a growing case. Fans didn't see bad luck. They saw confirmation. They saw a player with a reputation for physicality finally exposed in the clearest possible way. Headlines called it the dirtiest play of the season. Commentators debated her intent, and fans demanded accountability not just from Hartley, but from the referees and the league itself. For many, this was a tipping point. Sophie had already been fined earlier in the season for criticizing officials, punished for speaking up about inconsistency. Yet when Hartley seemed to cross a line, there was silence. Fans argued it was a double standard. Protect the officials, but not the players. Punish the words, but not the actions. The frustration mounted quickly, and Sophie's family added fuel to the fire. Her sister and mother both spoke out, openly questioning why the league wasn't doing more to protect players from dangerous play. To them, the problem wasn't just one collision. It was systemic. And then came the twist, no, one could have written. Before the league even had a chance to announce whether Hartley would face suspension, Connecticut released a statement of its own. Bria Hartley was done for the season. A torn meniscus, suffered in practice, had ended her year. Just days after, being branded the dirtiest player in the WNBA after being photographed smirking as Sophie limped off the court, Hartley herself was sidelined. The timing was uncanny, the parallels impossible to ignore. Sophie Cunningham had suffered a torn MCL, ruled out for the remainder of the season after a collision with Hartley. And now, Hartley was also ruled out with a devastating knee injury. For fans, it wasn't coincidence. It was karma. Social media erupted with a single word: justice. Posts celebrated the irony, calling it payback, poetic fairness, the basketball gods evening the score. Hartley had taken Sophie out, and now she was out too. Of course, not everyone celebrated. Some voices cautioned against applauding injury, pointing out that no matter the reputation, no athlete deserves to lose their season. But in the emotional storm that followed, those warnings were drowned out. For many, Hartley's fate felt like vindication, the kind of justice the league had refused to deliver. Through it all, Sophie Cunningham herself refused to fan the flames. On her podcast, she chose grace, calling the collision a basketball play, insisting she didn't believe Hartley had acted with malice. She even defended Hartley against the worst of the criticism, saying they remained friends and that she wished her nothing but the best. It was a response that surprised many, but revealed the kind of competitor Sophie has always been. She could separate the chaos of perception from her own reality, refusing to label Hartley as a villain, even as fans demanded blood. But Sophie also showed another side. On social media, she fired off a 4-word tweet that sent a different message: F around and find out. It was blunt, unapologetic, a reminder that while she might extend grace publicly, she wasn't about to be walked over. Together, those two sides, the calm voice on the podcast and the sharp edge online, gave fans the full picture of who Sophie is. A fighter, both in spirit and in play. Someone who doesn't hold grudges but who refuses to back down. As for the fever, the story didn't end with Sophie's injury. Instead, it seemed to galvanize them. Kelsey Mitchell erupted for 38 points in a game against the Sun, earning Eastern Conference Player of the Week honors. Lexi Hull stepped into a leadership role, proving she could steady the team through turmoil. Aaliyah Boston continued her relentless battle inside. And with Caitlin Clark still waiting in the wings, the team's resilience became the new storyline. They weren't broken by Sophie's absence. If anything, they were strengthened by it. Hartley's season-ending injury might have grabbed the headlines, but it wasn't the lasting legacy. The real story was Sophie Cunningham. Her toughness, her honesty, her refusal to let others define her. Even sidelined, she remained a central figure, turning what could have been a devastating blow into fuel for herself and her team. She carried herself with dignity while chaos swirled around her, and in doing so, she reminded everyone what it means to compete with both grit and grace. The irony of Hartley's downfall will linger, the image of that smirk forever attached to her reputation, and the timing of her injury forever debated as coincidence or cosmic justice. But for Indiana, the focus has already shifted forward. They have a team still fighting, a culture of resilience that no injury can erase, and the promise of a future that looks brighter with every test they overcome. And so the question remains, was this really just coincidence, or did the basketball gods step in to deliver instant karma? Was Hartley the victim of bad luck, or was it the universe restoring balance in the most dramatic way possible? Whatever the truth, one thing is certain. Sophie Cunningham may be out for the season, but her fight, her voice, and her presence will echo far beyond the hardwood.